While the rise of community-based bulk solar purchasing groups is a sign of positive change, in order to fully address Toronto's energy situation, many larger-scale systems will need to be retrofitted or replaced, and various large-scale institutions will need to make energy issues a central concern. Fortunately, this change is starting to occur. One of the best examples of this can be seen in the actions and plans of the Toronto Community Housing Corporation. Responsible for all government-run affordable housing in the city, Toronto Community Housing is one of the single largest landlords in North America, housing nearly 160,000 residents in 35 high and low-rise buildings. When progressive change happens in an organization of this scale, it can have wide-ranging effects that reverberate through all levels of society. The most compelling evidence of the shift in thinking at Toronto Community Housing can be seen in the current redevelopment of Regent Park. After years of structural and social issues, a major reconstruction initiative has been undertaken that will bring deep change to Canada's oldest social housing project. From replacing aging building stock to remapping the neighborhood streets, the face of Regent Park is set to change significantly, breathing new life into the area. More importantly, essential proactive steps are being taken to improve the production and use of energy in the neighborhood. The new plan calls for the use of a high-efficiency district energy system that will provide both power and steam heating to all the buildings in the area.
Well, Regent Park's history goes way back to the late 1940s, early 1950s. And that was an area in the city with a large population of very low income, mostly Irish immigrants who had come from various potato famines and other reasons. And the decision was made again in the late 40s to basically tear down the shacks of Regent Park.
Hey, we're going to get out of here.
What are you
Just
talking
for a
about?
while, and then we get a new place. Look,
What is what you...
they're going to tear this place down.
Down came Oak Street. Down came the verminous walls, the unclean, unhealthy rooms. And down came the fire hazards, the juvenile delinquency, the drunkenness, the broken marriages. And up rose something new, the nation's first large-scale public housing project, to be called Regent Park.
And they used a planning technique at the time that was beginning to blossom mostly in Europe, of the Garden City approach to planning, where they would essentially build a large park-like area and dot it with buildings and plunk the buildings down, make pedestrian thoroughfares through it and areas of park, and keep the cars on the outside. So they eliminated all the roads that used to run through Regent Park and created this new community. What happened, though, unfortunately, is the social structure began to break down. And by the 60s and 70s, there was a lot of crime and a lot of prostitution and a lot of gangs and a lot of difficulties in that community, largely to do with the economic condition of the people, as well as, and ultimately determined to be, because as well, the plan itself, and the fact that the streets didn't run through, and the fact that there were parks that weren't really owned by anybody. There was just large anonymous green spaces, seemed to foster areas of crime. And that was the condition that ran from the early 1950s right up till today. The original Regent Park that was built had, though, some interesting features, and one of them was, in fact, a district heating plant. And it existed and exists today and had been the source of heat for this housing. None of it was cooled, there was no air conditioning in this housing, and the electricity was taken off the grid.
So learning from that lesson, we want to turn Regent Park into a more modern state of better using fuel and better using energy efficiency measures in the new building. So we consulted a lot of experts and look at other country example, how they run community heating and cooling system.
In the summer of 2003, the planning process for the Regent Park revitalization project began. By the time the final proposal was approved by City Council in 2007, the updating of the district energy system and the overall efficient use of energy in the project had become central pillars of the plan.
It's a purpose-built boiler. It's very sophisticated. It cycles. It only goes on when it's supposed to. The controls are very, very sophisticated, and you get way more economic and environmental impact, in a good sense, from the central systems than you do from the individual systems.
So the new community was modeled on and planned for a district heating plant that would, again, be located in some central place and provide, in this instance, heating and cooling to all the buildings.
In planning to upgrade the district energy system, one of the most important questions to be answered was where to put it. Nobody in the neighborhood would want to see a large power plant and smokestack in their backyard, and any land use would simply mean less space for affordable housing units. Luckily, an innovative solution was found.
There was an architectural competition to design the first building at Regent Park, won by Architects Alliance, and their mandate was to create a tower building that would be a seniors tower, and a base building that would be family housing, under which would be 2 stories of a 5-story underground structure. 2 stories would be entirely dedicated to the district heating plant.
And one of the reasons we have to go underground is that land is a premium. So if we have a horizontal plant in Regent Park, it would consume a lot of premium space. So we try to integrate the plant within the building itself. So that campus electrical network provide a very efficient use of locally generated power, and be able to bring the overall electricity costs down, and also meeting one of the city objective to encourage more distributed generation of power in the city, where the demand management is a big challenge, especially during the summer peak hours.
Besides the modernization of the district energy system in Regent Park, the decision was also made to pursue various other energy-saving measures, revealing a drive to take the entire life cycle of the building into account.
First of all the building elements are very energy efficient, such as the window, the building envelope, the insulations, and the selection of the terminal unit inside the suite. So all these have to be looked at from a systemic point of view.
Right now, if you take Regent as an example, the buildings will be operated at almost 50% less energy absorption and CO2 gas emissions than the previous buildings. So aside from being good for the world, you can imagine the savings on the operating side for the corporation, and this was a very important aspect.
In a way, through the lesson we learned from Regent Park, we would like to see all our future redevelopment project will come through this angle by looking at how the community energy system can play an important role in the infrastructure, in the development process.
It's fairly easy once you get the plant set up, as it is now set up, to extend that system quite far. We can extend all the way down to Lake Ontario. We could extend all the way across the Don Valley and to parts of the western Riverdale. And so the intention would be to look for customers outside of Regent Park, and the more that become part of this system, the better the cost will be for everybody.
Once you have the distributed energy system in, you can add in solar thermal, you can add in biomass, you can add in geo, and it doesn't have to be 100% of those all the time, but combined, you're able to do it.
I think this is going to move fairly quickly in terms of other, both public and private companies making this type of development the standard rather than the aberration. So in 10 years, I suspect we're going to see most developments, new developments in the city, certainly the housing corporation's developments, reflecting many of the principles that Regent Park are using.
In recent years, the rise of community bulk solar groups and the institutional changes within Toronto community housing have each been important signs of positive change in Toronto's energy landscape. These and other innovative organizations have begun to reveal a deep-seated desire in the part of Torontonians to find real answers to the energy issues that face us. People have begun to demand local solutions that will also fit into the larger vision of a distributed smart grid. It has become clear that if we, the people, want to make the shift towards a more intelligently and sustainably designed energy system, then there is one element that is needed above all others: will. Public and political will. The one factor that will have the most impact on the speed of progress towards sustainability will be how strongly we, the average citizen, demands action. It is essential that the impetus for change come from two directions, the grassroots up as well as the institutional top down. So now, the primary question for energy advocates is how best to bolster public enthusiasm and demand for a progressive energy agenda. Ultimately, the success of such programs will be dependent on us. It is now up to every citizen of Toronto to demand innovative solutions to the challenges that face us as we pursue a more sustainable and ecologically friendly Toronto.